What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik. I am the hardest working man in sports and gaming, and it is time for another episode of Heavy Presents. I'm just saying with Brian Mazik here, and I have several other people here with me as well. We actually have a new, well, he's not really new to like Earth, like he's been here for a little while. He's also been with Heavy for almost as long. Since he's new, we're going to talk to him first. Jonathan Adams, he is a heavy writer for several NFL teams. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I was told I would get green M&Ms and my thermostat would be set to 67, and a steak dinner is all that part of the deal as we kind of agreed to.
Bobby, get John's M&Ms.
Turn my headphones up.
Turn it up. Okay, I'm working on it now because Bobby's he's very silly.
I'm
so
good.
I have to get them together sometimes.
I feel the ratings are already going down, but I appreciate you guys taking one for the team this weekend.
Yeah, things happen, but we got Bobby on it, so we're gonna make everything work all right. All right, Paul Boyd Green Esden Jr. How are you doing today, sir?
Hashtag blessed, baby. We woke up this morning. It's another day in paradise.
It is. It's a beautiful thing, very much so. Ryan Sanudo, aka the baby face Cardinal assassin, aka Similac child, aka diaper wipe writer man. Come on with it. How you doing today?
I'm in a better mood than last week after that
Good,
Patriots
good,
win against the Bills. So I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna be nicer in this segment, Brian.
Yes, I'm very happy that you are, and we're going to talk about the reaction to the Cardinals-Rams Monday night game, really big game. But I decided I was going to do something a little early, a little different here early on. So I was watching the games this week, and I was inspired, and I'm an artist, and I'm serious about my Erykah Badu. Never mind. All right. So I put together a poem for week 14 of the NFL. And I would ask for complete silence while you take in this, what I consider to be just a special exhibition of words. Here we go. With the Patriots on a bye, my wondering eyes searched for a stream of teams while I waited for primetime Justin. Early in the week, Shaqtin' a fool with Claypool, and we're still undervaluing our cousins. Even with Taysom at QB, the Jets ain't with the Saints, while Cam and PJ faint with the Falcons. If there was a medallion for 20-point losses, the Texans would be iced out. But the Seahawks win was nothing compared to what the Chiefs did to Vegas in Pat's house. Oh no, Lamar's out. And that means the Browns win. Fire Urban Meyer, please, after the Jags got shut out by the Titans. I'm right in the flow of week 14. Dallas had to hold on late against the Washington football team. How about them Broncos? Just when you thought they was dying. Don't get too mile high. They only beat the Lions. Can you believe Joe Judge got a vote of confidence? Another G-Man loss, this time to the Bolts. It's not common sense. Jimmy G and TB12 pulled out close wins. Stafford guided the Rams over Kyler and friends. But back to the Bears, the Sunday night spotlight on us. After a strong first half, it was still clear Aaron still owns us.
Wow.
That's touching, man. Yeah, there you go.
Someone has to sign you, man, to a label or something, man. That was beautiful.
I felt it. I let it flow. I felt it. I had to let that out of me. It's
got to be a recurring segment.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. We have to do week 15. We have to. Maybe I should let maybe Ryan should write it. Yeah, Ryan's got some flavor. I know it. No, maybe John, because John, see, you look at John and you think that he might not have rhymes. He might not have bars, but I think that you might be wrong.
Brian, a couple of things. One, there may not be any players left by this weekend for us to write about.
Wow.
So I'm a little bit nervous to do that. Also, I did have a special holiday sweater for you guys. I don't know if you can.
Oh. Gangster rapper. Yeah. He's already a gangster rapper.
He's already ready, man.
I didn't know that this was going to happen,
ready,
but
ready. He's a gangster rapper already, y'all. What do you mean?
It's
he's
like the
already ready.
philosopher Marshawn Lynch said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
You
So
stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, man. You know how
I like that.
I grew up with that term all the time. You stay ready. You ain't got. It's just a something that you constantly hear. Your coach tells you, your dad, your mom, your grandmother, tough aunts. They just say that. So let's get into this Cardinals and Rams battle. I want to start with Ryan Sanudo. He is a beat writer for the Cardinals for Heavy. I want to know like your first impressions or your lasting impressions from this game. I know obviously didn't go your guys' way, but tell me a little bit.
Yeah, last week I think we were talking about what was going to stop the Cardinals in the playoffs, and I told you it was probably going to be home field. I think they were 3-2 heading into the game. I've seen them collapse in previous games to the Panthers, no less, to the Packers. They could have easily won that game, but again, the Vikings earlier in the season they could have very well lost to. So they really have a tough time at home. I mean, I can't really have like a clear explanation for it. I don't even think Kingsbury has an explanation for it. So, I mean, that's what I took away from this game because they're 7-0 on the road, but they're 3-3 at home. It makes absolutely no sense. I feel like Kyler, for some reason, is a little jittery at times. I think the Cardinals are like a -18 when it comes to turnovers on the road, and then it's like +6 or something like that. So they really have a tough time with the turnovers. The pass rush isn't evident at times with Chandler Jones and Marcus Golden. And then offensive line, they got completely disrupted by Aaron Donald. So that was really telling. I feel like when it came to the Rams and Cardinals, the battle of the trenches, that was the complete and utter explanation for this game. I feel like they had points off the board because of the miscommunication with Green in the beginning of the game. And then the tipped interception after that. So I feel like it came down to the trenches, and the Rams beat the Cardinals in both aspects.
Yeah, losing the battle of the trenches. I don't know. I'm not. Sometimes I'm not sure if the playing at home thing is really the issue, or if it's just a matter of the matchups that they happen to have gotten at home, but those are the ones that they're losing. I don't know. But Mr. Green, I mean Mr. Boy Green Esden, what do you say?
Man, I got to say, James Conner was like the greatest free agent find in history. They found a couple of pennies under the couch. No one else wanted him, and they invested in this beautiful man who's second in the league in touchdowns, second in rushing touchdowns, and also sprinkle in 2 more receiving touchdowns as well. I mean, man, what a find. He's been such an exceptional player for the Cardinals, and he found, himself in almost a meditation-like desert place. He was able to come back to homeostasis and deliver. Unfortunately, as we have already discussed a little bit, it wasn't enough. I thought the Rams were soft heading in. I was like, man, you know what? They're on a 3-game losing streak. They beat the Jaguars. Does that even count? And then now they play the Cardinals, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Now the Cardinals can slap somebody around. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And obviously, Ryan mentioned the turnovers. I mean, Kyler, was a little herky-jerky. Was a little too giving, perhaps, at this time of year with the ball, if you catch my drift. But anywho, I mean, the point is this. The Cardinals, all of a sudden, they were on top of the football world with the number 1 seed. Now they have fallen all the way to the 3 seed. So perhaps you'll get your wish at the end, Ryan, if they make a deep playoff run, that maybe they'll be traveling to a Lambeau. Maybe they'll be traveling to a Tampa Bay, and maybe they can test your road theory out and be the road warriors of the WWE they were always meant to be. But at this point, super disappointing. It was underwhelming to see him drop the ball like that in prime time.
Yeah, it definitely was. I'm going to piggyback on some of that when it's my turn. But before that, I would like to hear from Mr. Adams. What was your lasting take on the Monday night matchup?
I'm pondering this, guys. Is it possible? Because it seems like after the Von Miller trade, all we heard about was the Rams, and the Rams being Super Bowl contenders, kind of being the super team. Shout out Vince Young. And then weeks went by and the Rams lost game after game, right? But is it possible? I come away from this game feeling that we're undervaluing the Rams, which is a really weird statement because 6 weeks ago, it seemed like everyone had the Rams penciled in as the kind of like the sleeper team, not even the sleeper team, as a team that could could dethrone the Bucks and the Packers in the NFC and go to the Super Bowl. And now it seems like if you just were in like a time capsule and woke up 6 weeks later, your prediction might actually be true. It might actually be accurate. I think that the Rams are still being slept on just because of the kind of the fog they've been in the last month. And so that's the main thing I take away from the Cardinals' perspective going into this game. And then as we eye the postseason, I'm just wondering if this Cardinals team is going to be one of those teams where they have to get to the postseason and experience it before they can actually make that deep run. And I know Cardinals fans are fearing that because you always hear that. We've seen that with past teams, the Seahawks when they were kind of having their glory days. Other teams in the past years, the Chiefs, for example, where they have that kind of mid to deep run, get knocked out by the Patriots, come back the following year. So I'm wondering if the Cardinals are in that situation. They're going to have a great seed, but is it going to be one of those things where we're going to have a couple games under their belt before they can be a real contender? I don't know that I have an answer for that, but I guess my main takeaway is just the Rams, I think, are being undervalued.
Yeah, I think we have. I think in a lot of ways we have forgotten how talented the Rams roster was or is. And I think what happened is Odell Beckham gets traded there or signs there. And you start to look at, Von Miller being added. And I think many of the casuals who make up a lot of the noise that is, that makes up the discussion around some of these teams expected them to just like go on an immediate run at that point. It's kind of dismissing the whole aspect of getting chemistry together and all these things that we know that are very important to playing winning football. And when that didn't happen immediately, I think people automatically just started to adorn the Cardinals as the best team in the NFC West. And it's like almost like not so fast. The Rams had a chance, needed an opportunity to put things together. And for me, what I noticed from the Monday night game is that in prime time, in pretty much the biggest game of the season for both teams, Matt Stafford flat outplayed Kyler Murray. It's just really he flat outplayed him. You cannot throw those types of interceptions in the red zone, in the end zone there, like Kyler Murray had in one of his picks. That can't happen in this kind of a game. You cannot, first of all, take scoring opportunities off the board, and you cannot give a high-powered offense with so many weapons that type of an opportunity. You can't let them off the hook in that way. And we saw that take place. Also, I looked at how the Cardinals had a very difficult time, obviously, and many teams have this issue, but a difficult time containing Aaron Donald. He was a major factor throughout the entire game, disrupted the inside, like he wrecked the game plan the way we generally expect to see him do. That hadn't been happening as much in the previous games, but he definitely showed up big there. And just the amount of weapons, man, from a passing standpoint. I think this was the first game where I looked at the Rams passing game and I was like, okay, that's starting to look about as dangerous as it appeared they would look when they got Odell Beckham. And obviously the Robert Woods injury was huge, but this looked like, oh my God, for real. This is a really tough set of receivers to contain. And for this game, the Rams look like the better team. So we will see. As we get closer to the even closer to the postseason and then into the postseason, which I expect for both of these teams to be there, we'll find out what's what. But that was my major takeaway from the game. I think more than anything, Stafford outplaying Kyler Murray was the biggest factor.
And this was without Jalen Ramsey, Darrell Henderson. They didn't have their center. They didn't have another offensive lineman. They had two offensive linemen not playing. And the Chandler Joneses, the Marcus Goldens. I think Zach Allen was like the only guy that I actually saw as a disruptor. And I was like, you know what? This can't be happening. And I know J.J. Watt might be coming back soon or maybe in the playoffs. But, I mean, Vance Joseph and their defense, they have to get better. And you can't have your corners be, one-on-one with Cooper Kupp. You can't be relying on Byron Murphy or Marco Wilson, a rookie. You can't be allowing that to happen. You have to have your defensive front on their game. And I think that was the biggest takeaway is that Stafford had plenty of time and he was able to be composed and get the ball to even Van Jefferson on that long route. So I think that was the biggest takeaway with the Rams. And Stafford, I think he had 8 touchdowns, 5 picks in his last 4 games. And yesterday, I think he had one of his best games of his life. So,
yeah, definitely a strong game for Stafford when they needed it, for sure. And it was definitely a strange game when you look at it from like a third down efficiency standpoint. The Cardinals weren't horrible, 8 for 15 on third downs. It's not terrible. And just the stuff that you generally look at that decides games, it wasn't, it's hard to detect, okay, here's where they went wrong. Here's where they were severely outplayed. That's why I think it came down to some signature style plays and some really big plays being made by the guys who touched the ball on every offensive possession. And that was the quarterback. So I'm going to move on to the next thing here. And it is a one gotta go. I love these. I think these are super fun. The best ones make you make an actual tough decision, right? I've seen one gotta goes and people are like Keith Sweat, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, and like Lou Ferrigno or something. It was like, man, bro, this is pretty easy. Like, this is not a difficult decision. So the best one gotta goes make you make a hard decision. So I want to start with John. One gotta go. Mac Jones, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, especially coming off this recent performance. I mean, we don't want to be too much of a prisoner at the moment. And Josh Allen. Which one has to go, and tell me why, sir?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." Are we not doing the music?
Don't you
sticking with Britney? Free Britney. I think that happened. Someone check that. For this question, so this is actually interesting because I've seen all of these guys except Kyler Murray at the Senior Bowl heading into the draft, so that's pretty cool. It's pretty easy for me, and I would say Mac Jones, and it's not because I necessarily think that Mac Jones cannot be a good player, but if I'm just going on based on everything I know right now, like I'm taking the other 3 all day. Josh Allen, strong arm. He had over 100 rushing yards against the Bucs, ran all over them, played through a hurt ankle. Even though Kyler struggled last night, I still like him. And especially with the way the new NFL rules are, I feel like he's going to be preserved. It's not like 10 years ago where you have to literally worry about that frame and that size as much. And then Herbert, I still have faith in him. Could be one of the most, like you're just saying, pure talent. Could be like the most accurate, best passer of this group. And I still like his upside there with the Chargers.
Gotcha. What about you, Mr. S? And I know you. I'm not even gonna say it.
I just have to say that, like, if this was a Miss Universe pageant, right? You go to LA, ooh, you got Miss California, yeah, Justin Herbert, sexy, yeah. Josh Allen, Miss New York, wow, broad shoulders, really nice.
Wait a minute,
you like
Miss
what
New
you
York?
got?
Did you watch? You must not have watched Flavor of Love. You just said Miss New York. I don't think you would have included that, but it's okay.
Yeah, but and then you go to Kyler Murray, Arizona out there. That's nice with the desert. But I got to tell you, Mac Jones would be like Miss South Dakota, maybe. It's just not there. Quite frankly,
it's just lost the Midwest viewers.
Yeah, we just lost the Midwest. I apologize. But the least talented, least arm strength, least sex appeal. I need something with sizzle, something with some zest. And unfortunately, Mac Jones doesn't get it done. The 3 passes, I'm sorry, it just doesn't do it for me.
I love the Josh
Allen rocket launcher surgically attached to his shoulder, Kyler Murray and the wiggle, the dual threat ability. And Justin Herbert, did you see that rainbow shot to Guyton? Oh, my Lanta. I mean, he sent that from the East Coast to the West Coast. It was a rainbow toss that made us all go, ooh, ah. Mac Jones, he threw a terrible pass to Jonnu Smith, who somehow hobbled it in a windstorm. I'm sorry, it just doesn't do it for me. So if one has to go, it's Mac Jones. And it's just not even close, quite frankly. But you know what? I have to give credit where credit's due because I've torn this guy apart, okay? Is that Mac Jones, way to be the quarterback for a team that's first place in the AFC East, first place in the AFC. I mean, somebody's got to play the quarterback position, and, well, he's the one that was selected to do it.
Wow. I thought that was quite just extreme on McCorkle, and I don't think that you necessarily had to do that. Yes, sir.
I almost
Question:
apologize.
have you not seen the? Could I submit the shirtless photos of Mac Jones for
Oh,
evidence?
the
No, I've
dad
seen those.
bod.
Does
No,
that?
The
I think
dad
that
bod.
adds actually to you.
Yeah.
We've seen those.
Not
We've seen those.
switch
And
things
we
around?
actually don't want to ever see those again, but thanks.
Okay,
We don't
just
need
check.
those. That's
Nice
just check.
dad bod, though.
Just check it. Just check it. So,
Just
and I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna go to Ryan after this, and I might surprise you guys a little bit with this. I really might. For my personal taste, here, right? For my personal taste, I would have to say my one gotta go would be Josh Allen, and I'm gonna tell you why. I love Josh Allen's arm. I love Josh Allen's arm. I love his size and athleticism. But I don't think that between the ears, he gives your team the same chance to win each week. So here's the thing. When we're talking about one got to go, I am considering career trajectory. I am considering I'm not talking about like right now. I thought that was pretty obvious that we wouldn't just be talking about like right now. And I purposely selected young quarterbacks so that we could all still be evaluating the future aspect of them, right? So if you ask me in 5 years, who will be the better quarterback, Mac Jones or Josh Allen? I think it's going to be Mac Jones. I think it's going to be Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones will be a better quarterback in 5 years than Josh Allen. There is something to be said for one is his accuracy, two, his decision making, which is already at a veteran level for the most part. I mean, there is no quarterback in the NFL that doesn't make a bad throw. There isn't a quarterback in the NFL that doesn't make a poor read here or there that leads to an ill-advised throw. Some of the better quarterbacks get away with it a little bit more than the others, but Mac Jones is making quite possibly the fewest amount of errors I've ever seen a rookie quarterback make who gets an opportunity to play every down, every game. I don't know that I've ever seen a rookie quarterback play this mistake-free. Who has played this much? Maybe Roethlisberger. But this is, to me, just the beginning of what Mac Jones is going to be. And I don't think any of the four guys here are going to suck. But if you give me, you also have to consider this. Josh Allen is throwing to one of the best wide receivers in the league and another very good wide receiver in Cole Beasley. There is no one for the Patriots in Stephon Diggs' stratosphere. Nobody. So to me, all of those factors kind of play in. So you can look at statistics and you can look at all that stuff. But I think some of that is warped by the supporting cast or the weapons that Josh Allen is throwing to. And some of it is warped by the fact that Mac Jones is still very early in his career and he hasn't even been completely turned loose yet. So for me, my one got to go as Josh Allen. It's a tough decision for me, but I would say Josh Allen. Well, you know what? I'm dying to hear what Mr. Esden has because he's just emoting over there. So I have to hear it.
You can skip me. You can go right to him. You can
skip him.
Skip me. You can go right to him again.
Oh my God. I just a comment real quick. The thing, like, so the hot sexy thing has been let Russ cook, let this guy cook. Like, does Mac Jones, is he even capable of toasting bread? Like, you said we haven't let him loose yet. What does that even mean? Is there a loose to be done? Because again, I think if you need a 2-yard pass, Mac Jones, your guy. I mean, he has it. He will not make a mistake. He's got it more than anybody else. So you know what? I love that. I love that he hasn't made a lot of mistakes. No, he's been spot on. He has nailed it. Did you see those 3 passes against New England? Nailed it. Absolutely beautiful. Man, what faith by organization. Let's let him throw it 3 times, and then that's it. Great faith. Wow. I really love that from New England. They believe. You asked that question to old Bill Belichick, 5 years, who do you want? He goes, of course, Mac Jones, baby. Look what we did on Monday Night Football. Look at that game plan. We believe in our guy, the offensive rookie of the year, Mac Jones. Woohoo! Unbelievable.
If this is not the rant of a disgruntled Jets fan, I have never seen one in my life. This is all this is. And so here's the thing. You keep harping on this one poor. It's not even a poor performance. They won. They won. So
It
they
wasn't
threw
a
two
win.
passes, but they won.
We
So
all
it's
lost,
not a poor
though, really,
performance. And
watching
then
that game.
the other thing that to be honest, that wasn't even really a normal football game. So I wouldn't even judge that by anything. That was like playing Madden with all of the wind sliders up and all of the passing accuracy turned all the way down. That wasn't even a real game. I give credit to Belichick and his staff for coming up with the right game plan to win that game, which is what their job was that night. But it's not a game you can accurately or logically evaluate a quarterback in. And I'm not holding anything against Josh Allen for that game either. He only completed 50% of his passes. But you can talk about how safely they're dealing with Mac Jones, and there is some truth to that. But also, I think what's not getting recognized is how much he is playing a part in sliding protections for run plays, how many decisions, like he's getting a lot of stuff placed on his plate that you normally don't see a rookie quarterback getting. He's having an impact on the direction of the offense to a degree. And we're talking about one of the most control freak, micromanaged offenses in the league for the most part, unless Tom Brady's the guy. This is how this functions with this team. But they are giving just so much freedom, or a certain level of freedom and a certain level of say so in the direction of the offense to a rookie. And as a matter of fact, if you watch them each week he's seemingly getting more and more that he's being able to do. So I'm going to tell you, you definitely need to watch this game coming up against the Colts, because all signs are pointing to they're going to load up on the run and dare Mac Jones to beat them. That's now Brian Okereke could be just blowing smoke, but I'm starting to get the feeling that this is what the concept is going to be. And we're going to find out. I have a feeling Mac Jones might have an opportunity to put up one of his better passing games of the season. So we're going to see. But this is not a slight at Josh Allen. It might sound like that. I think Josh Allen's going to go to a few more Pro Bowls. But I think that Mac Jones is going to be one of those guys with a higher winning percentage. I think he's going to be a guy who has a higher completion percentage. He's going to put up some monster years if he ever gets some. Think about it, man. The best receiver on this team is Nelson freaking Aguilar, man. Like, that's the best receiver on this team. Like N'Keal Harry's on this team working as a crack blocker. I mean, Kendrick Bourne has, and I love Kendrick Bourne. He's fantastic energy, all of that stuff. But he's playing a major, man. Come on, you look at like Ryan Sanudo is like the fifth wide receiver on this team. So come on, can we give some love here?
All right, so can I get my take in?
Can we see that? Look at you, Paul. Look at you, Paul.
You got your time, Paul. You got your time, Paul. I'll talk about the beauty pageants, though. You said, what was the state? South Dakota? I'm going to say Idaho for Mac Jones.
Idaho. There you go.
I'm going to give Idaho for Mac Jones. If we were talking Josh Allen from 2019, I fully agree. Mac Jones over 2019. Oh, no, 2018. Josh Allen, I think he had 10 touchdowns, 12 picks, 52% completion percentage that year. But Mac Jones, man, like I only wrote one word for this segment, and I put like,
wow,
what are we doing here? Mac Jones and with these three guys, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. It's a total disgrace that he's even in this conversation.
Wow.
I mean, I fully agree with you, Brian, that he's making an impact in terms of accuracy, blah, blah, blah. But man, Herbert, you saw him against the Giants, and forget the Giants, they're clown shows, but other games, he's lights out. Kyler Murray before this week, he's lights out. Josh Allen, he's had his ups and downs this year, but come on, we're really starting to overreact with this Mac Jones hysteria this year. Let's simmer down a little bit. I didn't have to put stats because I'm sure our viewers know how they're educated with these guys. Let's back away. I get it. Trevor Lawrence, Wilson, all those other rookies have stunk this year, but man, this Mac Jones should be compared to maybe, I would say, I'm trying to give a good example. Maybe Carson Wentz
What?
or someone like that in the mid
That's
tier.
too
Like,
high.
and I'm being nice, by the way. I'm being nice.
You're
So
being
Yeah, that's too high.
I'm being nice.
Too
So
low.
That is insane. Okay, so you brought up stats. Mac Jones is right now on pace for 3,531 yards passing
Wow.
this year as a
Over
rookie.
17
Okay,
game
okay,
season.
so we're not comparing that to Josh Allen in 2020. I think it'd be more fair to compare that to Josh Allen in 2018 or 2019.
No, I fully accept
2018,
that. Yeah.
Josh Allen threw for 2,074 yards. He only played in 12 games, but that's what he threw for. In 2019, which it was still his second season in the league, and we're talking about Mac Jones' rookie year. Buffalo, he played in all 16 games, 3,089 yards, 20 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions. Mac Jones is going to exceed those numbers. It's a pretty safe bet. So in his rookie season, he's more than likely going to lead a team to a better record, even though Buffalo was 10-6 that year. The Patriots are already 9-4. The numbers are going to be better. And these are the basic numbers. These don't tell the complete story, but these are the basic numbers. I don't see how I can understand you saying that you take Josh Allen. I understand that. But to say what? Like it doesn't even belong. I think you're not foreshadowing enough about Mac Jones with this in this conversation. I mean, not a lot of rookie quarterbacks who play all 16 games are able to help lead their teams to a winning record, let alone what might end up being the best record in the AFC, throw for over 3,500 yards, and have like a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. That doesn't happen a lot. It certainly didn't happen with Josh Allen. So to say that it makes no sense to me is, in my Mike Tyson voice, ludicrous.
Read the rushing numbers. Read the rushing numbers.
Oh yeah, that obviously. I mean that's I mean that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. But you read the win-loss numbers too.
Oh,
that matters too.
Ooh.
Hashtag QB wins. Hashtag QB wins.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, that pissed me off the other night.
I forgot. You know, nobody no Jets
ridiculous.
fan knows anything about win-loss records. They don't like those to be they don't like those to be entered into the conversation because we got Chad Pennington's running around here. All right, next question.
Hey, I do have Could I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
You are talking Josh Allen, the Jaguars defender. Is that what you just made the case for?
There he goes. There he goes. There he goes.
Checking.
Now he's doing it.
No,
now he's doing it.
I just
now
want to make sure we're all
now John's doing it
on the same. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
You got John doing this now, Paul. This is you. You did this. You did this.
I think everyone is correct. Josh Allen, defender, got to go. Right? No. All right, just going to clear. Go continue.
Next question. Single most dynamic player in the NFL is. I'll go first because I don't trust Paul to go first. You let Paul go first.
That's a good call. Good call.
Bad things happen. No, the most dynamic player in the NFL, in my opinion, is still Lamar Jackson. I know he got hurt, got carted off, but there is nobody in the league who, every single time they touch the ball, no matter how or what is going to happen, there's this chance for something special. And Derrick Henry was in my conversation because just from a pure running back, he is one of the most like Derrick Henry got hurt and I felt like cheated. Mm-hmm. Just as a football fan, I felt cheated. So I dig that. If Lamar doesn't come back, then I'll feel cheated in some way. But Lamar is, to me, the most dynamic player in the NFL. And I think it's by a fairly big margin. What say you, Mr. Sanudo?
All right, I'm going to be a little bit surprising here. I feel like I'm not going to say generic, but I feel like
Andrew Whitworth.
I feel like, no, not him. I mean, he torched the Cardinals yesterday, but listen, dynamic, you don't really think of this guy. I feel like dynamic, like you said, Lamar, I totally agree with that, by the way. Lamar is up there. But I'm going to go with a, surprising, quirky answer. I'm going to go George Kittle, being a dynamic player in the NFL. Yeah. I know it's a little shocking to you, but I feel like, first of all, he's the most complete tight end in the NFL. He's a great blocker, and he's very elusive and quick. And he wasn't really heralded coming out, in his draft. And I was thinking of Deebo Samuel too. Obviously, running the football as a wide receiver. But I was feeling, a little different, because I feel like you look at George Kittle's stats the last 2 weeks, 9 receptions, 13 receptions. And by the way, I think if they wanted to, if they didn't have Deebo, I think they'd run the football with Kittle as well. Like, he's someone that I feel is like untapped. Like, if you wanted George Kittle to run with the football and just do quirky, decision making, I feel like Shanahan could do that with Kittle. So I know it's like a weird answer, but I feel like George Kittle in this conversation, I know it's crazy to say, but George Kittle, I feel like he gets a little bit of lack of respect in certain ways. And I think everyone talks about Travis Kelce and Warrington. I think he's the best tight end in the league. But in terms of completeness, in terms of blocking, George Kittle dynamic, I think he's the guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
All righty. Mr. Adams.
Well, if you're just asking for this year, Cordell Patterson would have to be on this list. The problem is you have like the 9 years preceding this this season. So if Arthur Smith was just following him around, it might have a strong argument. But I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes. I feel like I was buying when everyone was going off of the bandwagon. Everyone was selling the Chiefs. I was buying the stock. I was buying low, and now the Chiefs are back, and no one wants to play them when we get to January. So I've got to go Patrick Mahomes, though I can see a stronger argument for Lamar Jackson. I will say, and Ryan will probably like this, a sleeper guy to watch, not this year, but in the coming years, I really like Rondale Moore a lot.
Love him.
Just watching him at Purdue. The main thing for him is staying healthy. That was his thing in college. Like, had a great freshman year and then just couldn't stay on the field at Purdue. So if he can stay on the field, like, he can be used all over the field, just like, I guess like a better version of Patterson this year even. Just more dynamic. His speed is incredible, and his playmaking ability. The frame worries me a little bit, but he is built pretty well to take the hits as long as he can kind of stay on the field. So that's a guy to watch. But as of today, my money's on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I love Rondale Moore. He has like a faster Darren Sproles kind of feel to him for me. But yeah, staying healthy is the thing. I literally believe Rondale Moore was the best pure athlete in the draft last year. I think he's the best pure athlete, all things considered. Run, jump, speed, strength, all of it. I think he was the best. So I love him as a potential guy in that area. Paul Eston, come on, Denzel Mims, right? That's what you got.
That is definitely not the guy, as we saw over the weekend, but I love the optimism. Thank you. He was on the honorable mention, cutting room floor, as we say in the business.
Gotcha.
But Brian, I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised that you overlooked this guy, but maybe I shouldn't because he's 5'6" on a slanted hill. But Jakeem Grant is the single most dynamic player in the NFL. We all saw him in prime time, 97 yards to his house, and he did the one thing returners are like, oh no. He stopped, looked around, said, you know what? I think this direction is better. And then, whoop, moving, grooving, slicing, and dicing all the way down the field. And hell, even got involved on offense, catching one and taking it to his house. Jakeem Grant, you said Lamar Jackson, every time he touches the football, oh, snap, it could be a big play. That is literally the definition of Jakeem Grant, who, again, 5'6", 100 nothing, 5 foot nothing. This guy is absolutely the most dynamic player in the NFL that no one is talking about.
Well, I would, if we had a different question and we said, who is the single most dynamic player that no one is talking about, then I might have completely ridden with you and said, yes, Jakeem Grant is that guy. But that's not what the question was. And there is no way in hell Jakeem Grant, after essentially one major performance in prime time, is more dynamic than Lamar Jackson. Like, there's just no way. And I am a Bears fan through and through, and I followed the Bears for decades. There is no way that he is the most dynamic player in the and that's just not going to be it, right? So yeah, I really he played well. He played very well against the Packers. I am all for giving dangerous return men the freedom to reverse field and do different things that nobody else is going to be able to do. But you got to be on Dante Hall, Devin Hester, that kind of a level before I tell you to do anything like that. And I think Jakeem Grant is that one of those kinds of guys. I hope that even with all of the turnover that's coming, obviously, to the Bears on the sidelines and in the front office, that they give a serious, consideration to bringing him back. I've always felt that dynamic return men were undervalued. And this comes from someone who got an opportunity to watch literally like every punt and kick return Devin Hester ever had in a Chicago Bears uniform. So I know what kind of game-changing kind of a factor a guy like that can be when you get one who is really, really this good at it. And so when you find somebody who you think might be on that level, you got to value that. And I'm hoping that the Bears do give Jakeem Grant that type of consideration, because if he finishes the rest of the season out playing anywhere close to what he did on Sunday night, yeah, you got something pretty special.
By the way, real quick, Mazik, since you are our resident Chicago Bears insider, Devin Hester, Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. I don't think so. Here's the thing with Devin Hester, right? If Devin Hester's not a Hall of Famer, then what you are telling me that you're telling me that it is impossible to qualify for a Hall of Famer if your primary role was as a return man. That's what you're telling me. Because if this guy, without a question, is the greatest ever at his role, we've never seen another guy change the game as a return man like Devin Hester. If he doesn't have a Hall of Fame resume, then my question would be, then who has had his role? Who has, right? We have Ray Guy in the Hall of Fame, and because he's considered, the greatest punter. I feel the same way about the Patriots with Matthew Slater, right? Matthew Slater is arguably the greatest special teams player in history.
Yeah, Steve Tasker of Buffalo still waiting.
Steve Tasker, if those guys cannot get in the Hall, to me, there should never be an established role in a sport that makes you exempt from Hall of Fame consideration.
Right. Yeah.
And if Devin Hester's not a Hall of Famer, then their return man just can't make it.
Yep.
I don't know. So that's my take.
His prime time obviously made it, but he had a Hall of Fame other side of his career.
Right. Obviously. I mean, Deion Sanders made it because he was the best shutdown corner in the game.
Yeah, right.
And then he played a little wide receiver too. But to me, from a sole role standpoint, Devin Hester has to go in. He has to go in. So, all right, let's talk Jets. At this point, Zach Wilson is. Paul, what is Zach Wilson?
Let me see here. What did I write down? Oh, yeah. Okay. The key to this question is at this point, not a previous point, not a future point, right now. Mm-hmm. And considering that question, because apparently I misinterpreted the last question. So I want to make sure I get this one exactly correct for Mr. Mizik. Mm-hmm. And that is it. At this point, Zach Wilson is Alex Smith with hydraulics. Okay? That's what he is.
Hidden switches.
That's what he is. He can bump and do a little, bacon shake, a little bit of that action. Okay? But right now, since he's come back from his injury, he only has 2 picks in the last 4 games. Very nice. Just had his first game without committing a turnover. And to me, it's very Alex Smith-ish, a little bit of that.
Say that again. Say that again 2 times.
Yeah, Alex Smith-ish. Yeah, there you go. Got that a little better that time.
Got it in. There we got it.
But the point is, to get that for the camera crew that's getting the hits for social media, you're welcome. But the point is, prior to the injury, you saw the wildness, the crazy Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers and all these crazy people he was compared to coming out of the draft. You saw that. You saw some touchdowns, but a lot of turnovers. This time, he's brought it back. There's still the dynamic play. Again, that's the hydraulics part of it. Alex Smith never had that. He was always just his game manager, which was very good. He's a very good player, and they should name the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award after him and all that jazz. But right now, I believe Zach Wilson is exactly that. He's been a perfect game manager, but he still has the hydraulics to give you the pop every once in a while. That's what he is right now.
Alex Smith with hydraulics. That is very interesting. Mr. Adams, what do you say?
Man, for the life of me, I can't think of Zach Wilson without thinking about Justin Fields. Like it just boggles my mind still how leading into the draft. Now, Justin Fields ended up going, higher than projected, but like leading into the draft, you would have thought Justin Fields could go in the second round the way people were talking about him.
Yeah.
If he wasn't a 5-star recruit with Trevor Lawrence, as if he wasn't in some circles believed to be better than Trevor Lawrence heading into college.
Yes.
And then as if he didn't get recruited by Georgia, then somehow got picked over by Jake Fromm over Fields, who people are very sensitive here in the Atlanta area about that, Georgia fans. And then went to Ohio State, balled out in the college football playoff with like a rib injury and everything else. So I know this isn't really answering your question, but I just cannot see Zach Wilson's name without thinking about Justin Fields and how angry I would be if I was a Jets fan, because every time I saw Zach Wilson, I would think, why did my team not take Justin Fields? And I'm a massive college football fan, so anyone that watched college football, I don't see any way that you would make an argument for Zach Wilson. Now, having said that, I think Zach Wilson is TBD. And I think it's unfair to say what his career is going to be, because it's just not his fault that the Jets drafted him.
Yeah.
If Mac Jones and Zach Wilson swap places, there's a good chance. I think there's still a decent chance that the Patriots could have a similar record. But that didn't happen. And so I don't know. I can't say that I'm, unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you look at it, I can't say I'm locked into every single Jets game to make a assessment. But my sense is that the blocking and the playmaking weapons and the run game is not an ideal situation for a rookie quarterback. Now, correct me, Paul, if I am off base there, but that would be just a hunch based on what I see from the
Elijah Moore action. He looks pretty good. Michael Carter, not too bad. Mr. Draft Man, a couple of those guys, not too shabby. But I get your
Michael
point.
Carter, yeah. But do you think that the current Jets roster is enough for a rookie quarterback to succeed? In other words, do you think, if you're just saying pass fail based on what he's working with, what would you give him?
Well, this probably skirts out of your question, but Sam Darnold was handed a lot less, is what I'll say. From what Sam Darnold got to what Zach Wilson got, we're talking about filet mignon to crap on the street. I mean that's the difference. Now, is it fair to compare him to that, or is it to be a level playing field? Now, that's a proper conversation and debate. I think the weapons were solid enough. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. Offensive line, again, there were issues. Again, another rookie that I loved, Elijah Vera Tucker. But, I think there were some holes to the game. There's no question. It was not perfect. There's no question about it.
Yeah. That's fair.
What about you, Ryan? At this point, Zach Wilson is?
At this point, Zach Wilson is out of whack. Out of whack. Oh. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to give you arguments for both sides. I agreed with most, if not all, of what you guys said. I think he was dealt a bad hand this week. I mean, previous weeks, you had Corey Davis, you had Elijah Moore. This week, you don't have them. You have Keelan Cole, Jamison Crowder. Mims was basically betting against his own team with the penalties during the game. But, man, he's out of whack. I'm telling you, the mechanics are off at times. He's inaccurate, and I get it. You can sort of say, like, if he gets the accuracy part, then he's all good. But there's a whole saying, like, you can't teach accuracy. You can't teach accuracy. I mean, Zach Wilson is a guy that should be making these throws, even coming out of college as a rookie. And I get it, a couple drops by the running backs, Ty Johnson, again, another guy was betting against the Jets with those drops early on. But, man, I feel like Zach Wilson at times is out of whack. You're looking at the receivers sometimes shaking their head at times with the overthrown balls. I feel like every time he overthrows Jamison Crowder all the time. Jamison Crowder is not 6'5", 6'6". He's only 6 foot. So these are throws that, Wilson has to be making. And I'm fully aware he's a rookie and he was dealt a bad hand going to the Jets. But I think these mistakes are something that I think he will improve on. But in terms of what we're saying at this point, what the question is, at this point, Zach Wilson is out of whack. These things have to be corrected. And I'm just seeing things that, are reminiscent a little bit of Josh Allen. I feel like the comparison is completely, accurate when it comes to Josh Allen and Wilson in their first years. I feel like, Josh Allen had more interceptions and touchdowns. Wilson, same thing. So if Wilson can, year 2, year 3, follow into Allen's footsteps, I can totally see that happening. But right now, he's out of whack.
Out of whack is a very interesting way to put that. I don't know. I would say that Zach Wilson is um, is in need of the two H's, and what I would say that is health and help. He needs obviously has to stay healthy so that he can continue to hone his skills, um, to hopefully increase his poise. Still has some happy feet, a lot of times. Still likes to lean towards making the more difficult pass and the more difficult play. Still has to be kind of begged or dragged, kicking and screaming in the taking the check down. Like nobody's trying to turn him into a check down king, but there are times when he's still looking to stretch the ball down the field. Um, but I think that is the kind of stuff that will hopefully come in time, right? That's all you can hope for with that. You continue to coach him up, you continue to work on those kinds of things. And we've seen it happen with guys like Brett Favre and other guys who had similar type issues. And to a degree, there's like this compromise, right, with the guys with the big arm and are dynamic outside of the pocket and that sort of thing. You don't want to stamp out every bit of their creativity, every aspect of their ability to play backyard football, because those types of things, if you look at like Kyler Murray and some of these other guys, they're making winning style plays playing this way. But the on the flip side of that, you have to rein that in somewhat. And a guy like Zach Wilson appears to me he appears to be a guy who thinks he can make every single throw there is, even when he can't. And it's very difficult for him to grasp that some of those plays are just not good plays. So I think in order for him to stay healthy, in order for him to get the reps and that sort of thing that he needs to get past that, he has to stay healthy. The other thing is he's got to get some help from an offensive line standpoint. Injured Mekhi Becton, who is still out, and I believe they weighed him. He's at 370 right now, while he's recovering from this injury. So, which means that by the time he comes back, it may not even be smart to let him play again this year. And the reason why that is because, first of all, he's going to be recovering from an injury. Secondly, he's even heavier, which means there's more weight and more stress on those lower extremities. And he's already had these injury issues anyway. I've said this before on previous episodes of the show. I think he is the single most important guy from a player teammate standpoint to the success of Zach Wilson right now. He is a destroyer when healthy on the left side of the offensive line. He needs him. But beyond that, they need to do something in free agency or even in the draft to solidify the other side of that offensive line. They need to get strong and tight there as well. If Zach Wilson can play behind an above average offensive line, an above average, not a decent one, because he's too young at this point to manage that. See, you got guys like, you looked at Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night. He's playing behind a makeshift offensive line because of all of the injuries, and they even suffered an injury on Sunday night in the middle of that game. But he's a veteran quarterback, understands how to read defenses, how to get the ball out of his hands quickly, all of those different sorts of things. He can manage a situation like that. Zach Wilson's not at that place yet. So he really needs to be fortified with a strong offensive line. So for me, it's the two H's. It is health and help.
Yep.
He is in need of health and help is what I'll say. But I want to lead that into the next segment, which is the perfect 2022 free agency fits for the Jets. And I am going to tell you this, which backs up my previous point. I think you got to get Mekhi Becton on a conditioning program, something to help that keeps him on the field. But on the opposite side of him, we talked about a right tackle, one that would be, you want a natural right tackle, somebody who has succeeded there, who is nearly as dominant, can be effective in both the pass and run. And there is a gentleman in the division who is going to be a free agent at the end of this season, who is, when healthy, is one big nasty dude. And that's Trent Brown. Big Trent Brown is going to be a free agent at the end of this season. And imagine an offensive line with a healthy Mekhi on the left side and a healthy Trent Brown on the right side. If you want to talk about Zach, now, if anything, Zach Wilson might have to work on getting passing windows because he's a shorter quarterback, and you got two towering tackles over there. But aside from that, man, I can't think of a better situation from a tackle protection standpoint for a young quarterback to have. So Trent Brown is my number one free agency fit for the Jets. Shouldn't break the bank necessarily because he has been hurt this year. But the bad thing about it for him is I know he loves New England. He was thrilled to come back and get away from the Raiders. So I don't know if he'd want to go to the Jets. I mean, it really would have to be a money thing for him to go to the Jets. But we're talking about perfect, and to me, that'd be the perfect free agency fit for the Jets. What say you about that, Mr. Adams?
I'm thinking, and Paul, you brought up some good points. The only challenge in terms of the weapons there are all those guys are young. And so if I'm the Jets and you're just writing me a blank check and I can get my wish, I think Chris Godwin from the Bucs would be at the top of my list. Been in big time games, made big time catches in those situations, has a Super Bowl ring, and he's in a situation there in Tampa where, who knows what's going to happen with Antonio Brown's future there. But there's a scenario where the Bucs are going to have to make some difficult decisions, and they keep pushing. Like when you're going Christmas shopping and they always have that option to do the layaway. Like I used to, when I was growing up, it was called layaway. I guess now it's like pay later. It's like, man, I got a sweet 75-inch TV that I'm going to be paying for in like 2076 when TVs aren't even a thing. That's kind of what the Bucs are doing right now. They're pushing all their money. And why wouldn't you? If you have Tom Brady there, they're doing the right thing because they know that they have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year. And as long as Tom Brady's there at quarterback and he hasn't lost his step, they're going to be a contender. So they're doing these avoidable years at the end of these contracts, so they can continue to do that next season. But at some point, they're going to have to pay they're going to have to deal with the repercussions for that. So they're going to be in a real dilemma this offseason with some of those guys. Now, that's the positive if you're a Jets fan. Having said that, is it realistic to think Chris Godwin was going to go from playing with Tom Brady in Tampa to go into the Jets? Well, there's one thing that could solve that, right, Brian? And we all know that thing is dollar bills, y'all. So I don't know what the Jets situation in terms of cap money is, if they can create cap space, but I would say Chris Godwin would be at the top of my list, even if it maybe is a little bit of an unrealistic target. And beyond that, I still think offensive line depth would be a great thing to have, especially with the situation with Becton, who has lots of upside, but also has I don't want to be mean-spirited here, but we got to get him on the field. We got to get him in shape. And if he do those two things, he can be the kind of NFL player that we all, well, I don't want to say we all, but a lot of people that know more than me even, which is many people, especially if you ask my wife, but thought that he could be, dynamic, one of the best, game-changing tackles. So Chris Godwin would be at the top of my list to kind of help out, Zach and the boys in green there.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I've said it before, man. A healthy and if Becton plays at a more svelte kind of a 350, 345 is 350 range, I think that we're looking at somebody who has like some Jason Peters, Jonathan Ogden kind of a vibes. Is smaller than Jonathan Ogden from a length standpoint. But man, this dude, I'm telling you, when healthy, he is a destroyer over there. And I've literally watched him control entire halves. But then, unfortunately, almost every single time I've seen him play, he got hurt and did not come out for the second half. So it's just crazy, right? So, Ryan, what about you? Perfect 2022 free agency fits for the Jets.
So I think in a previous show I mentioned J.C. Jackson, so I'm not going to harp on him because I feel like that's a perfect fit for New York. But I'm going to give a 1B to this question. I'm going to say Hassan Reddick from the Carolina Panthers. This is a guy that the Cardinals should have easily kept. Instead, they, kept Devon Kennard instead. And he went to the Panthers and he's been balling 10.5 sacks in 13 games. And he's just been a crazy player for Carolina. And the Jets, they're not really a splashy team, in terms of getting free agents. Last year, I remember, in free agency, they were trying to get Corey Linsley. They were trying to look at Joe Tooney. That didn't really happen. So they did get Carl Lawson, who I still think is going to be a very good player. Unfortunately, he got the injury in training camp. But how would you like it if Carl Lawson on one side, Hassan Reddick on the other side? If they don't get J.C. Jackson, I think Reddick should be the next guy coming up in terms of defense. I mean, the offense does have some warts, but you look at that defense, it's been shattered throughout the year. You'd be doing yourselves a disservice to just forget about defense for the Jets. And, you look at the draft order for the Jets, they're not going to be in the top 3. You see the Lions and Texans are right there, getting Hutchinson, getting Thibodeau, who are edges, and you're like, all right, I guess the Jets can get maybe a cornerback or a safety or someone like that. But edge, I don't really see them getting an edge in the first round. But, you look at the edge market, Hassan Reddick, you steal him from Carolina. They took Darnold. I don't think Jets fans were mad about that. They got a second rounder, but you go and grab Hassan Reddick. Man, you have those two specimens on those sides, and I think they're still going to target corners. And this is the best part for Jets fans. I believe the salary cap is going to increase by more than $25 million from last year, according to Tom Pelissero. So I think the Jets are already among the league leaders in terms of cap space. So they can easily, just say, I don't want to say the word, but just screw you to the Panthers. We're going to get Hassan Reddick. So that would be a huge addition for the Jets. And Douglas, he's in his 3rd year, I think almost 4th year, right? 1920. So it's going to be his 4th year technically as a GM. He has to start winning next year. And I think that's what they can do.
Yeah, it's funny you said that about they're not going to get a top. You start top 2 pick or top 3 pick.
Top 3 pick, yeah.
Top 3. They might actually. I mean, where they are right now is, I believe, the 3rd worst record in the NFL. Because of course the Texans and the Jags are both 2-11. Oh, I forgot about the Lions. How can you forget about the Lions? But they could actually get into the top 3 still because they play the Jags, and the Jets are
Jags and Texans play each other.
Yeah,
okay.
And
maybe.
But the Jets are pretty much going to lose every other game besides that one for sure. So I don't know. We saw the Jags pull off a big win already earlier this season, so we'll see what happens. But Paul, what do you say? Free agency fits.
Well, Brian, way to keep it positive. Appreciate that. Hey, don't roll out the Jets yet for a top 3 pick. So thanks.
All the time. Anytime you need it.
Anywho, and a couple of nuggets here just off the top of the dome. Prior to that salary cap increase that Tom Pelissero reported, Jets have $54 million in 2022, 7th best in the NFL at this point, although there's more roster finagling that may be happening from here to there. So keep an eye out for that. So Jets have the moolah necessary there, Jonathan. So I like the Godwin unrealistic fit. Very nice. I like the unrealistic thrown in there. That makes a man feel good. Unrealistic. Hey, Jets can get a top 3 pick. You guys are great. Love the panel. Let's keep it rolling. Anywho, for that matter, the guy, and I have a Hollywood script here, people. That's what I have. And I'm all about, again, a man of the people. So why don't we do this?
You are such
Ryan,
a man of the people.
You're not going to miss him. Let's get Chandler Jones. Let's bring that baby back home. Syracuse guy, born and bred in New York. The Jets need an edge rusher. I mean, God's sakes, it's a match made in heaven. Carl Lawson, Chandler Jones. Both of their first names start with C. I mean, is there a greater match? I mean, come on, people. Let's make it happen. Let's make it rain from the heavens. Let's get a pass rusher in here for the first time since John Abraham. So I want to give me the pass rusher. Perfect.
I hate it.
Love Chandler.
And you know what I think this is? This is a clear example of a delusional Jet fan.
Wow.
Why in the blue hell would you go and get a 31-year-old pass edge rusher when you know your team is as far away from winning as I am from having hair?
Which, by the way, when you take off your hat, how much hair you got going on?
Yeah. This is where we are. We're at 0. Okay. We are at the.
Brian came on home. It's okay.
Appreciate that's right. I came full
circle,
don't
rule it out.
Literally and figuratively.
Don't rule it out.
So my thing is, why with young free agent options out here, and so knowing how much Chandler Jones is going to command, you would tie that amount of money up in a 31-year-old edge rusher who is essentially not going to make you probably even a playoff team.
Oh.
And he also doesn't even help protect what right now is your most important asset on your roster, which is your quarterback.
Yeah. With Chandler Jones, I do like the player. I would say this: if let's say he does poorly, I'm not gonna say he did poor against the Rams, but he was like a ghost against the Rams yesterday. So if maybe he's not gonna get a discount, but if you get like a price range where other teams are like not even gonna touch it and his market goes down, okay, I totally agree with Paul. But I just don't see him commanding too much money if he keeps playing the way he did yesterday. And it wasn't even just yesterday. I think he had 5 sacks the first week, and then from then on, he has had quarterback pressures, I think, afterwards. But then I think the last 4 or 5 weeks it's kind of come down. So that's a little bit of a problem. Hopefully, when Watt comes back, late in the season or the playoffs, you'll be seeing Chandler Jones from week 1 and previous years, last year before he got hurt. So I like Paul with his Chandler Jones theory of him going to New York, but that can't be the only move if you're the Jets, and obviously that won't happen. But yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean, Chandler Jones has 9.5 sacks this season already. Guys who get double-digit sacks, especially guys who have a history of being strong pass rushers, get big contracts.
Yeah,
Chandler Jones is going to get a big contract.
Yeah,
and he's probably going to finish the season with like 11 or 12 sacks.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Yeah, it's risky.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But it is what it is. All right, last question, guys. When the smoke clears, the 49ers will be blank this season. Fill in the blank. Mr. Sanudo.
So when you say the smoke clears, what does that exactly mean? Is it like
what? I'm going to leave it up to your interpretation because I trust your creative genius.
All right, let me give it a couple seconds. Okay.
Dangerous.
When the smoke clears, the 49ers will be kaput. I'm not going to say forget about the end this season. Just put the 49ers will be kaput. Period. I'm going to say this.
That sounds like something that like somebody's granddad said to them, like as like a cautionary tale. He was like, "Don't do that. You're going to be kaput." Like that's what that is, and like none of the kids know what it means, but the way granddad said it, they just know that kaput is bad, so they just don't do it. So
yeah, I'm looking at the definition right now. I know what it means. Everyone knows what it means, but the first definition of kaput is utterly finished, defeated, or destroyed. So that's my
the 49ers will be utterly finished or destroyed when the smoke.
Yeah, we're talking football here. It feels like I'm talking like we're in a war or something. But,
yes, I got it. Or actually, it sounded like a WWE promo.
Yeah, right.
He said, "You know what? You look at me real good. When the smoke clears, you're going to be utterly finished and destroyed."
Yeah. I mean, I can't just be hoodwinked and bamboozled, led astray like Stephen A.
Malcolm
said.
X? Are you doing Malcolm X quotes?
No, that's what Stephen A. said. I think Malcolm X said that too. But,
yes, it's a Malcolm X quote.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, the 49ers, I just can't be, hypnotized when they beat the Bengals away. Okay, great. They did that. The week previous, they lost the Seahawks in embarrassing fashion. So I look, the 49ers, I like them as a whole in a way, but if the whole was just everything but Jimmy Garoppolo. He did pretty good against the Cincinnati Bengals, but
I thought he played pretty well.
I think the Bengals defensively, they've been doing that. I saw Mike White light them up this season. So I'm not going to give any credit, any merit for being the Bengals. I know they have a good record. They have a good team, but defensively, But look, I don't think the 49ers are legit, in my opinion. I just don't like the corners with the 49ers. I feel like they're very hit or miss. So I do like the playmakers. Kittle, I talked about Kittle earlier, Debo. But you know what? Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a guy that I just can't picture as a consistent enough quarterback to lead. He did in 2019, but I don't see that happening again. So I just don't. Whenever the smoke clears, they'll be long gone. They'll be long gone, and they'll have Trey Lance as their quarterback for the future.
Yeah, I think the most impressive thing that Jimmy Garoppolo did, he played pretty well.
Yeah.
But the most impressive thing that he did on Sunday was he got sacked 5 times and he walked off the field on his own power.
Oh. Yeah, gotta give him credit.
Yeah,
we're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he's been hurt putting in a contact lens. So I mean, it is what it is. So what about you, John?
I have a couple important observations just from the conversation, which means they're not important at all. But real quick, when you were talking about Grandpa Ryan, I just pictured him with the old school hard candies without the wrapper. And they always try to offer you the hard candies with tissue on it. You're like, Grandpa, I don't want the hard candies with God knows what is on that. Stop.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, I
saw Grandma don't play fair, so we don't want that.
We don't want that. Also, when the smoke clears, the 49ers, I just lost frame of reference here because I used to live in California, and so there's just all sorts of just hidden messages here. So definitely in the Bay Area, anyway.
Okay.
Not my cup of tea, but it seems like a lot of area, there are a lot of things happening there, which could explain some of the personnel decisions with the 49ers, seamless transition, what we call in the business. What is the phrase, enigma trapped in a riddle trapped in I always get that thing confused, but anyone know what you guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'm also
No.
confused. Yes.
No.
Yeah. The idea is just confusing, guys. And that's what the 49ers. So I think they got to pray to God that Garoppolo stays healthy to finish this season and then trade him. Because, man, you guys got to find someone that loves you like Kyle Shanahan loves Garoppolo. I mean, Kyle Shanahan traded up in the draft to draft your replacement. Garoppolo basically got fired his day off, and Kyle Shanahan was still talking about how great Garoppolo is. I mean, imagine that situation. You literally traded future draft capital and current draft capital to get a guy replaced, and then you still back the guy. So I don't know. I think they gotta take advantage of his season this year. Whatever you believe of it is gonna probably be as good as it gets in terms of health, and trade him and turn the keys over to Lance. But at some point, when you keep signing and drafting injury-riddled players, that's not bad luck. That's bad. That's a bad front office in terms of the decisions they made to draft and sign some of these guys that do have injury histories. So I just look at this team. Kyle Shanahan is supposed to be kind of this boy wonder, but still hasn't proved that he can put together consistent back-to-back seasons in the NFC, especially if you're in the NFC West. So I like Kyle Shanahan. I want to like him as an NFL head coach. But there's just so much about this team that this season is a perfect example. They're just not consistent enough to back them and to feel confident moving forward. So I think the first step is trading Garoppolo and handing the keys over to Trey Lance.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I understand Kyle Shanahan, and I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of heat from Bears fans here, and even Matt Nagy's desire to go with a veteran, even though their team traded up to get a rookie quarterback. Because I think the thing is, just because you trade up to get a rookie quarterback and to replace a guy doesn't mean that the replacement has to be immediate. It can you assess the guy and you see whether or not you feel like he's ready to play now, especially with a guy like Trey Lance, who has had such limited experience, but you see what you believe he's going to be. But the pressure is for him to be that now, right? You just traded up for him, play him now. And the thing of it is that the danger in playing a guy too early is far worse than the danger of playing a guy too late, quote unquote, later than people want to see them. Because when you play them too early, you start to have people make up their minds about who they are and who they're going to be. The player comes out, gets bruised confidence or bruised, period, physically, because they weren't really ready to play. And when you have a roster like the Niners, which is a solid roster, depth chart is pretty decent, where you can win with the veteran that you have, and who knows how far you can go. Why roll the dice and play a kid who may or may not be ready to play on this level? So for me, I understand this. Not wanting to play Trey Lance initially and saying, hey, we got a perfectly good, solid quarterback who 2 years ago led us to a Super Bowl. So why not? So I get that, right? I understand that. But when I still say that when the smoke clears, the 49ers will be rebuilding around Trey Lance. I think that the Niners are going to more or less kind of stumble through the latter part of this season. That's what I believe will happen. They may barely miss the playoffs, or they may, just slide in. I think I can more see them barely missing the playoffs, because at this point, I think that the Cardinals and the Rams are going to be playoff teams out of that division. It's tough to get 3 playoff teams out of the same division. It's tough. I don't foresee the 49ers surpassing either of those two. So with that said, they're going to be in a battle with pretty much every other non-division winning team who is a playoff contender in the NFC. And I don't know if they're going to make it with that. So from there, I see them turning it over. Maybe even Trey Lance starts like the final game or so of the regular season to get him some reps. And then you see them start to build everything around him. And there may be a little bit of a fall off next year overall, but it will be a long haul kind of a move, which is what I thought getting Trey Lance was to begin with. So that's my take. Lastly, but certainly not least, Paul Esden, when the smoke clears, the 49ers will be what?
Well, boys, this one, the smoke cleared pretty quickly for me as I was trying to describe an answer to this question. When the smoke clears, the 49ers will be one and done. They'll be making the playoffs. They'll get the participation trophy they could put up on the nice mantle for mama, put it on the fridge, but they're going to be one and done. It's just over. This is a team that's a pretender. Speaking of smoke, that's what this offense is. It's smoke and mirrors. Deebo Samuel running the football, gizmos and gadgets from Kyle Shanahan, this offensive genius prodigy and all this and that. The fact of the matter is this: Jimmy Garoppolo is not good enough on a consistent basis. Great game. West Coast, East Coast, Bengals, overtime. Cool, man. Cool story. But the fact of the matter is it hasn't been consistent, whether it's injuries. We brought those up before. Whether it's just, quite frankly, missing the moments. What happened in the Super Bowl where they had a lead? All they had to do was hold down the fort, and Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't complete the passes. He just wasn't good enough then. He's simply not good enough now. That's the fact of the matter. So this team is a pretender. They got a lot of cool toys. Deebo Samuel's a lot of fun. Brandon Ayuk. They found this Elijah Mitchell kid out of nowhere, and apparently they hate Trey Sermon. So, they have just found ways to get the job done. But again, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, they're a one-and-done football team. They'll make the playoffs. They'll make them, sure. Don't get Jim Moore going all crazy, but they're going to be quickly out of it. And joining us on the Jets, watch from the couch.
It could happen. It could happen, but I want to thank every one of you guys for popping in today and participating. And I'm just saying, as usual, we appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video. Also, click that notifications bell if you have not done that as of yet, so that you will be notified when new videos go up. If you missed any segment of this show, it will be broken up. You'll be able to watch it individually. So if you would like to see any one of Paul Esden's simply insane takes in shorter form, I got you covered.
Oh, yeah.
God bless and peace.